Today, America celebrates its Independence Day, but the state of the country is not looking anything like the democratic ideals upon which it was founded. The Supreme Court voted this week to uphold two Arizona laws that would make it harder for people of color to access the ballot box and jeopardizes the Voting Rights Act. Meanwhile, Republicans continue to try to rewrite history Trump style by denying it ever happened. Only two House Republicans voted to create a January 6th Select Committee to investigate the violent attack on the Capitol. But you can't deny the truth, especially when it's on video. The New York Times released this stunning breakdown of the insurrection.
Behind these rioters and just feet away is an escape route where lawmakers and Senate staff are now fleeing. Just one officer stands guard. Keeping his composure, Goodman draws the mob away from that escape route to where reinforcements are waiting. He glances toward the Senate and realizes a door is unguarded. Goodman shoves the protester again, lures the mob away, and brings them into that line of fellow officers.
Always chilling to see that. Joining me now, Ruth Marcus, Deputy Editorial Page Editor and columnist for The Washington Post, John Bresnahan, co-founder of Punchbowl News, and Joan Walsh, National Affairs Correspondent for The Nation. All happy 4th of July. Thank you all for being here. Ruth, let me start with you and the Supreme Court decision in the Arizona cases. Let me get you to react to something from Justice Alito in the opinion where he writes, because voting necessarily requires some effort and compliance with some rules, the concept of a voting system that is equally open and that furnishes an equal opportunity to cast a ballot must tolerate the usual burdens of voting. Mere inconvenience cannot be enough to demonstrate a violation. Ruth, not only are you a journalist, you are a lawyer. So your reaction to that?
Well, mere inconvenience, I would actually encourage Justice Alito to go visit some of the Native American voters or would-be voters in Arizona who don't live near mailboxes, who many of whom don't have cars, many of whom live very far from polling places, and see whether their ability to not be able to have other people collect their ballots and bring them in for counting is a quote unquote mere inconvenience. And that's just a sliver of what Justice Alito and his 5 conservative colleagues did to the remaining part, or what had been the remaining part of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act.
And you know, the other thing, Ruth, I'll add to the litany of things you just pointed out. Also, a lot of people don't have formal street addresses. That was something that came up, I believe, in North Dakota. Joan, your reaction to the Supreme Court decision?
Well, Ruth has exactly right. And then there are more sections of the Alito decision that you could put on the screen to outrage us all on this beautiful holiday morning, Jonathan. And one of them that jumped out at me was where he essentially enshrines Donald Trump's big lie about voter fraud and says voter fraud is a very serious concern, and it's correct. States must worry about this. This is a legitimate concern. Voter fraud is almost non-existent. And he writes in a language that was really reminiscent of the way a lot of Trump supporters, lawyers, legislators, et cetera, in Congress and in state legislatures around the country talked about, well, we don't know that there's voter fraud, but people are worried about voter fraud. So we have to be very careful to make sure there's no voter fraud, even though we don't know about very much of it at all. And so that really chilled me to see that taken, that kind of argument, which has been used to discredit Joe Biden's election for, going on 8 months now, to see that come from a Supreme Court justice was chilling to me.
And, Braz, one of the things about this court decision and our system of government is if the Supreme Court hands down a nutty ruling, Congress could easily just pass a law to correct what the Congress believes that the Supreme Court did wrong. And yet, when it came to just approving the ability to have a debate about the For the People Act, it went down in the ball of flames. Is Congress this go round going to be the escape hatch for, doing something on voting rights?
I don't see Congress doing anything right now, and not unless they get rid of the filibuster. And your point is so well taken. Listen, the two biggest decisions from the Supreme Court since 2010, Citizens United and the voting rights decisions in Shelby County versus Holder. And now, right. I mean, Congress could take up these issues, but since 2010, when Citizens United struck down a lot of restrictions on campaign finance, which is part of this whole argument, I think that we have to look at it as well. Congress has not done anything. They haven't been able to do anything on voting, on campaign finance. So I think these issues are, they become more and more critical. We have less voting access and we have more money in the system. It's the worst of all possible worlds, thanks to the Supreme Court decisions over the last 11 years.
Brez, let me get your reaction to what House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy had to say about Liz Cheney, Congresswoman Cheney, being a part of the Select Committee.
I'm not making any threats about committee assignments, but as you know how Congress works, you get elected by your district and you get your committees from your conference. I don't know in history where someone would go get their committee assignments from the speaker and expect them to have them from the conference as well.
House Minority Leader, I was about to say Mitch McConnell, Kevin McCarthy, is sort of, to me, he's the poster boy for why our democracy is at risk. Do you think he's going to follow through and punish Liz Cheney for doing her constitutional duty?
We had reported this originally when he made this warning. He didn't call it a threat. He called it a warning. And I talked to Cheney after she joined the Select Committee, myself and some other reporters, and her whole position was, look, I'm doing my duty. Cheney feels very strongly that Congress needs to look at January 6th, needs to look at the role that former President Trump had, needs to look at the role everybody had. I think Cheney, McCarthy's position or the position of GOP leadership is they think now that maybe Cheney's not running again for re-election. I don't know. Cheney's people say she is. So, I think there'll be pressure inside the conference to take some action against Cheney. I do. They already kicked her out of leadership. I mean, I could see them trying to strip her of committee assignments. I could see that happening. There'll definitely be some kind of retaliation, I think.
In the time that we have left, Joan and Ruth, I'm going to come to you with this question. Sorry, Brez, I gave you an extra question, so you get to sit this one out. And that is, we're 4th of July. This is the 4th of July. This segment is about our democracy being at risk because of the Supreme Court decision in Arizona, the Select Committee on the January 6th insurrection. Joan, I'll start with you. What does America mean to you in this moment that we're in?
America is in grave danger, the America that we know. I am so grateful on this July 4th that we, the people, were able to peacefully, at least we were peaceful, our side, evict Donald Trump from the White House and elect a genuine statesman, Joe Biden. But whenever I watch clips from the video that you've shown, I don't understand how Republicans have become the party of sedition and the party that stands up against democracy and pro-voter suppression. We're in grave danger at this point, and to have this great holiday fall basically 6 months after that terrifying insurrection, I think it's trying to tell us something. I think we're supposed to pay attention, and too many Republicans are not.
Ruth?
And I guess on this July 4th, I would say I'm simultaneously so worried and so thankful. I'm so worried about the state of our democracy, the notion that the Republicans, including Congressman McCarthy, who said it would be prudent to have an investigation of the insurrection. We'll turn their back on that. Democracy is so much more fragile than we thought it was. Our society, in the wake of George Floyd and the focus that has put on inequality across the board and mistreatment across the board, is so much more divided than I thought it was. And yet I want to just end on a good note, which is so thankful to America and American ingenuity for having come up with the vaccines that allow us to celebrate this July 4th in a so much more normal way than a year ago. So let's end on a good note.